it's a portfolio the prime minister really cares about. So I'm not sure how much Evan is going to enjoy having the prime minister looking over his shoulder. He will be.
Well, looks like there's a possible peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got updates on this. Donald Trump stepping in between the two countries, and it looks like there's a serious chance that this conflict is going to end, considering all the other leaders involved who are not helping the situation. Leaders from France, Germany, Canada, like Mark Carney, just committing to Zelensky their unwavering support, unwavering amounts of money, or Donald Trump's actually getting in there and trying to solve this conflict. We got some other news from CBC, bunch of updates. Let's jump into this. First up, we got an update on this. Canada Post received strike notice from union workers plan to walk out on Friday. Remember this Canada Post strike? Justin Trudeau and the Liberals with Stephen McKinnon kicked this can down the road for the Conservatives to deal with. Well, turns out Mark Carney, using all his fear-mongering and getting elected, has to deal with this himself now. Expect more delays or lack of delivery on packages going forward here. Got this one from Table Salt. Says Canada's finances have deteriorated faster than any country in G7 over the last decade. Canada has added 25.23% gross debt to GDP in only 10 years under Trudeau. So we can see that here, Canada in the red. This is overall change in government gross debt as a share of GDP 2014 to 2024. Canada number one, 25%. We've got France and US at 16, United Kingdom at 14, Japan, and Germany at minus 10%. Got this one from Jing Lai. It says Parliament hasn't been in session for 152 days. Carney says there will be no budget. Well, he flip-flopped on that. Now there will be a budget sometime in September because he got slaughtered in the media. Carney says housing prices won't come down. Carney says no new pipelines. Economists predict a massive depression. Unemployment rate is at 6.9%. What on earth is happening to Canada? It's almost like they planned it like this. Although what's interesting is now Klaus Schwab has been ousted out of the WF. He's had to step down. There's potential alleged charges coming towards Klaus Schwab. Without the kingpin, will that organization fall? Will their plan continue to be rolled out, or is it going to crumble from the inside? What I'm talking about here is the WF launches investigation into founder Klaus Schwab. Moves come after Schwab and his wife, Hild, were reportedly accused of financial and ethical misconduct, which they deny. So we'll see what happens with this. Moving ahead here, we got this post. It says, I know a couple who makes $250K per year. They're about to lose their house, $1 million mortgage. How? This is Canada. There shouldn't be $1 million mortgages, and houses shouldn't cost $1 million, $800,000, $600,000 unless you have some like nice lake house. Houses should be $200,000 or $300,000. We got this one with Parliament prorogued. The Liberal government gave Michelin nearly $45 million to make tires for electric vehicles. In 2024, Michelin's sales were $11.5 billion. This is absurd. Why would we give them $1 for this? This is just the Liberals trying to roll out their green agenda. They're basically forcing it upon them. You're like, take all this money and do this. They begrudgingly said, okay, fine. That's what this seems like. Next up, we got this, which is absolutely absurd. I mean, you can see the title here. Made, I'm going to delay a little bit here so it doesn't make it into one sentence, for children and teens. The committee also suggested parents may not be consulted and wouldn't need to consent to their child's I can't read this. I cannot read this, but this is a topic I can't talk about. You can read the pamphlet here. This one screen here sums up the Liberal government. So a bunch of people asking if this is fake on X, and here's the official link to this. It comes from evangelicalfellowship.ca. I mean, yeah, this is the actual pamphlet. What is evangelicalfellowship.ca? It's this website here. Practical resource on welcoming refugees. Okay, yeah. So we'll just have Canadians go into the nether realm and we'll welcome more refugees. We're being replaced. Next up, we got Donald Trump trying to strike a deal between Russia and Ukraine. This is way overdue and very necessary, and he's the only one who seems to want to actually do this. As Trump has posted, just completed my 2-hour call with Vladimir Putin of Russia. I believe it went very well. Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiating towards a ceasefire, more importantly, an end to the conflict. The conditions for that will be negotiated between two parties, as it can only be, as they only know the details of the negotiation that nobody else would be aware of. The tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent. If it wasn't, I would say now rather than later. Russia wants to do large-scale trade with the United States when this catastrophic event is over, and I agree. There is a tremendous opportunity for Russia to create massive amounts of jobs and wealth. Its potential is unlimited. Likewise, Ukraine can be a great beneficiary on trade in the process of rebuilding its country. Negotiations between Russia and Ukraine will begin immediately. I've so informed Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, Ursula von der Leyen, President of the the European Commission and President Emmanuel Macron of France, Giorgia Meloni, Chancellor Friedrich Simieritsch, Italy, Germany, Finland. So he informed all of them immediately after the call with Putin, and the Vatican, as represented by the Pope, has stated that it would be very interested in hosting the negotiations. Let the process begin. So we had round one, it didn't work. This is round two. Hopefully this does go through. There's more info on CTV here.
Discuss is former Canadian ambassador to Ukraine, Roman Waschuk. Good morning. Thanks so much. Good afternoon, actually. Thank you so much for being with us. So what were you watching for to come out of this call? First of all, I'll start with the call between Trump and Putin.
Well, the Trump-Putin call seems to have gone on for quite a long time, 2 hours, just a bit more. We know that President Putin likes talking about what he sees as the root causes of the conflict, which sometimes go back to the 10th century. But basically, the root cause, in his view, is Ukraine wants to do things he doesn't want it to do. And it appears from his statement after the call that he's stuck to that line, basically, resolve the root causes, then we can cease fire.
Then we can cease fire. Do you think that's possible?
I think that's not something that's acceptable to the Ukrainians. Theoretically, it's not acceptable to President Trump either, because he has said, 30-day unconditional ceasefire. Ukraine agreed to that. Russia has not. But he always finds some empathy and understanding in his heart for Putin. And as you might expect from somebody who thinks that taking over neighboring countries is really kind of okay.
I hear you. I am wondering, though, now about the U.S. having, because of that minerals deal, having a vested interest in seeing this war come to an end. Could that change the way Trump approaches Putin? We heard earlier from the White House that he is growing weary of dealing with Putin on this. He wants an end to the war.
He does, and he wants to be able to spectacularly say, I've fixed it, and only I can fix it. The problem is, and we heard this from Vice President Vance earlier today, he said, well, if Russia doesn't agree, then we're out. It's not our war. Well, that's not really the most effective approach to leverage ever invented in international diplomacy. If you don't do what we want, then we let you carry on. Doesn't seem like super convincing to me. So yes, I think the Ukrainians certainly hoped that minerals deal might help generate more interest and leverage, but it doesn't really appear to be the case so far. I mean, we'll have to wait for President Trump's own readout. But he'd have to say, I'm going to go against my friend Vladimir and line up with the Europeans and Ukrainians and Canadians and supply more help, costing more money to the Ukrainians. And, well, we can always hope, but that's not generally been the outcome of these discussions so far.
And if I could just get a thought.
I mean, it's clear from Trump's tweet there, he wants to do business with Russia. He also wants to do business with Ukraine, and them having this conflict affects both of that. He wants to bring prosperity to America. It's very clear what Trump is trying to do. We don't need a crystal ball to figure it out, such as with Mark Carney. We don't really know, aside from his net zero agenda, which he's trying to hide. He's going to sneak it in there at some point. Trump wants to pump up America, and I'm sure his own empire for his kids. That's basically what he wants to build up. The outcome here is huge, because if Trump strikes a big deal with Ukraine over critical minerals, then Canada gets screwed over on that. We should be leading the charge on that, but our government refuses to approve mines faster than 15 or 20 years. Technology moves faster than that. These mines should be getting approved within 6 months, and when there should be shovels in the ground. Now Trump's going around us. I should note too, the majority of the approvals come from the provincial governments, but the federal government is always involved in environmental assessments, which has been the biggest bottleneck for Canada for the past 10 years, because the Liberal government has used that to basically not approve most of the projects, big economic projects that would bring prosperity to Canada. So this isn't just an end to a conflict. This has huge implications back home here in Canada.
For you is, I have to wrap up soon, but I'm wondering what role at this moment the Canadian government can take on to help out.
Well, I think Prime Minister Carney has been in Rome. He met with Zelensky. Zelensky met with the Pope, met with a number of other European leaders. So I think this kind of Europe plus Canada configuration could provide some of the actual assistance that the United States seems to be vacillating on right now.
So we move ahead here. This is what Putin had to say about all of this. It says, first off, I thank the President of the United States.
Президента Соединенных Штатов за поддержку со стороны
Support for the resumption of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine.
США, возобновления прямых переговоров между Россией и Украиной по поводу
On a possible peace agreement.
возможного заключения мирного соглашения. По поводу
On the resumption of negotiations which were interrupted by the Ukrainian side. And as you know, back in 2022, the President of the United States expressed his position on cessation of hostilities, on the ceasefire, and for his part, he noted that Russia is also in favor of a peaceful resolution of the Ukrainian crisis. We must simply determine the most effective ways moving towards peace. We have agreed that the President of the United States and Russia are ready to work with the Ukrainian side on a memorandum on possible future peace treaty, defining a number of positions such as, for example, the principles of settlement, the timing of a possible peace agreement, and so on, including a possible ceasefire for a certain period of time if appropriate agreements are reached. Incidentally, contracts between the participants in the Istanbul meeting and negotiations have resumed, which suggests that we're generally on the right track. I would like to emphasize once again, the conversation was very constructive, and I rate it highly. Question, of course, is for the Russian and Ukrainian sides to show maximum desire for peace and to find compromises that would suit all sides. At the time, I would like to note that Russia's position is clear on the whole, and the main thing for us is to eliminate the root causes of this crisis. This seems quite possible now. Donald Trump is bringing them both to the table here. Will they negotiate at the Vatican? Will Donald Trump strike up some big deals with Russia and Ukraine, leaving Canada in the dust? That is the next question. Power in politics, the David Cochran's position now. He used to have that position. He was caught doing dirty art deals with guests of the show and getting like a 20% kickback. He got fired for this. One of the people he did a deal with was Mark Carney.
Being said, I think that there's some really interesting picks there. There's some interesting kind of bold moves. Tim Hodgson, I think our old colleague Evan Solomon going into AI is
Tim Hodgson, I mentioned him on a previous video. All those connections and ties, the Goldman Sachs banker, pension fund guy, Mark Carney handpicked him for Minister of Energy. A lot of suspicious ties there. And Evan Solomon is no different. Guy used to work at the Eurasia Group with Mark Carney's wife.
It's a portfolio the Prime Minister really cares about. So I'm not sure how much Evan is going to enjoy having the Prime Minister looking over his shoulder. But he will be, and he's going to have to build a completely different, a new department with DMs and staff and bureaucracy. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I'll be interested to see how our old friend and colleague deals with other ministers who are going to be watching Evan, because his department, his responsibilities will go across every single one of theirs, from defense to industry to procurement. It'll be interesting how he handles that hornet's nest as well.
Robert Benzie?
Yeah, I agreed with Rob that Tim Hodgson and Evan Solomon, though they seem like Mark Carney's picks. First of all, they are Mark Carney intimates, I guess you could.
So I don't know what he says there, but those two are Mark Carney close picks. Those are his number one, number two guys. It really seems they're just struggling to justify this cabinet. What AI technology experience does Evan Solomon possess to hold this position? He has none. That's just like any other minister, though. None of these ministers have any experience in any of this stuff. Although Tim Hodgson did work for multiple energy companies, Hydro One, Mag Energy, I believe it's called, involved in the oil sands. So he's probably the only guy who actually has experience attached to his title. Next up, check out this clip here. So this is Kash Patel in charge of the FBI in America, and he's talking about the street candy in Canada as being the biggest problem, the one hinge kind of component they haven't been able to crack down on. As Tokyo Rosie says, the Liberals are going to turn Canada into an enemy of the United States, and that's not a place we want to be.
In the first 2-3 months that we've been in the seat under Donald Trump's administration, he has sealed the border. He has stopped border crossings. So where's all the fentanyl coming from still? Where's the trafficking coming from still? Where are all the narco traffickers going to keep bringing this stuff into the country? The northern border. Our adversaries have partnered up with the CCP and others, Russia, Iran, on a variety of different criminal enterprises, and they're going and they're sailing around to Vancouver and coming in by air. And the sheer tyranny of distance of the northern border and the lack of cooperation from federal authorities in prior administrations to actually firm up that northern border is what's causing a continuation of violent crime. Now, we're focused on it. And we're calling our state and local law enforcement partners up there. But you know who has to get to step in is Canada, because they're making it up there and shipping it down here. And I don't care about getting into this debate about making someone the 51st state or not, but they are our partner in the north. And say what you want about Mexico, but they helped us seal the southern border. The facts speak for themselves. The border that's open, I'll give you a statistic that I gave to Congress that nobody was paying attention to. Over 300 known or suspected terrorists crossed into this country last year illegally. Known or suspected terrorists, not illegals. Not just illegals, known or suspected terrorists. 85% of them came in through the northern border. Wow. This year, 100 known.
Yeah, that's right. There's about 30 from Mexico and like 300 from Canada. It's 10 times more coming from Canada down into America versus Mexico up into America. This statistic came out on CTV, I believe, 4 or 5 months ago. It's startling. Even though there's way more people that flood in from Mexico, the terror lords, majority of them coming from Canada. They know this. They know this is a problem. They know what's going on in our country. And as Tokyo says here, yeah, it's turning Canada into the enemy of the United States. This is a huge problem. Next up, we got this one on Van City News 1. Got a guy canvassing a parking lot here. This is in Richmond. So this guy runs around. He's looking down every hallway, every single driveway, looking to see if there's any people. Goes around and starts stealing things out of these cars. It is ridiculous because his face is everywhere here. So, you know, he's looking around. Eventually he breaks into a car here. So he breaks out, you know, steals this bag, runs around like an absolute buffoon. This is Canada. There he is, folks. This is the guy. Why not wear a mask? We got stupid criminals. They're so dumb. He's got tattoos, easily identifiable. With the House coming back on Monday, the 26th, we have a bunch of moving parts here. Will Donald Trump be able to facilitate a deal between Ukraine and Russia? Will he strike deals with both those countries? Will he leave Mark Carney and Canada left out, hung out to dry with a critical minerals deal that will lead to further despair in Canada?